the topic of this conversation, play an important role in innovative finance models, particularly in sectors such as climate resilience, right, and sustainable infrastructure, which are often seen as sectors of perceived high risk. So from your experience managing climate-focused impact funds across the region, we would be interested to hear more about how this type of investment help unlock opportunities. So what type of catalytic capital have been most effective in unlocking investment? And I know that you have experiences to share with us from Egypt. And are there any concrete examples that you can bring to us? And where do you see philanthropy, like the Abdullah Foundation or other entities, playing a role in this type of catalytic investment that you do, especially in investments that are perceived to be of high risk, such as climate infrastructure?
Thank you, Muna. And I'm only going to speak when you ask me to speak. Muna used to be a military general, by the way. She's still in the military general. Great, we need that in the region. We need this. It will enhance our productivity a lot. Thank you, Muna. And historically, so I moved back to the region over 20 years ago. I'd grown up in the US, educated in the US, worked in the US, really for impact. And for me, it was impact in private sector. And then that's kind of my path. And we started in 97 when I met one of the founders of Class 6 Labs, Hani Sombati. I had a tech company in Boston with an engineering center in Jordan and one in Beijing. I was telling Yahya about that, shifted to climate tech in 2007, but it was too early for climate tech. People didn't even understand what it was at that time. Just a point there, you know, when it comes to tech, tech is the top of the pyramid, right? That's where you create the most value. You create the right kind of jobs, high quality jobs. You have intellectual property that's exportable. The content is 100% local when it's tech, so it's fantastic. When we tried it in energy, water, tech, it was too early. And we tried it in the strategic sectors for the region, energy and water. Tech that we can use and then we can export. But we found when renewable energy became commercially viable around 2010, we started shifting to renewable energy project investments and SME investments. So solar power started becoming commercially viable. Jordan had a crisis. Egyptian gas was not reaching Jordan around 2010, 2011. The government accelerated the renewable energy program, which gave us the opportunity, because we're already on the front line for climate tech, to engage in that field to actually develop commercial projects, solar power projects, where we sell electricity to the government. So it became a great alignment between something commercial with impact. Impact was climate, impact, job creation, economic impact, because you didn't have to rely on importing fuel. So with that, we launched our first real fund, which was a climate infrastructure renewable energy fund in 2016. It was backed by development banks. And it was much easier raising a fund backed by development banks at that time, 2016. So we're very fortunate to do that. We invested in Egypt, we invested in Jordan. Results were great. We sold most of this portfolio in 2023. We thought now it would be really easy to raise a next fund, much bigger, expand the geography, add water treatment to the scope, because that's strategic for the region. And again, we focus on the mid-market, not the mega projects, because you always have very big players that will come in for the mega projects. But at the mid-market projects, there's less interest, and that's our niche. We found raising this next fund, despite our financial track record, was a nightmare. A lot of the development banks shifted their focus. The politics got in the way. Gaza started. Ukraine was a big focus for the development banks. So we made a strategic decision to start diversifying away from the development banks. And one of them, though, the IFC, had a special facility, philanthropic facility, that they would apply, though, to our fund, and it would help us. This is to the next fund that we're going to launch in about 1 month now. So the IFC is coming in $15 million from their commercial arm, So for a foundation, maybe consider that. Maybe that's the family office or the commercial part of the foundation. And then 10 million from their philanthropic arm. So the IFC has a facility called Frontier Opportunities Fund, which they're funding with other foundations and governments. And that's a first loss tranche. So basically they're coming in and saying, look, we're gonna apply 10 million as a first loss tranche. We get our money back last. The senior investors get their money first. And that helped encourage other commercial investors. That was a very positive signal. And basically, that 10 million from the IFC helped us raise another 9 million of commercial money, including money from the IFC itself with their commercial arm. And that $100 million, when we invest it into these mid-market solar power projects, or in companies like in Egypt, you have Solarized, Gun, you have these mid-market players doing distributed industrial commercial. Into these projects, we bring in 3 to 4 times debt to the equity. So that 10 that becomes 100 million equity is added with 40 million non-recourse project finance or debt. And now you have 500 million. It's really catalyzed by a 10 million first loss tranche. So from 10 million to $500 million. Now the IFC also, in providing this 10 million, told us, look, but we want you to add to your KPIs, to your impact targets. We already had gender as an impact target, clean water, access to clean water, renewable energy, job creation. All these were already part of our impact targets, infrastructure resilience, climate mitigation, etc. But they said, in Jordan in particular, we want you to add employment of refugees as one of your soft metrics, KPIs, in impact objectives. And that was the only condition for them to come in with this first loss tranche. And I felt it's a great example, because now we met with UNHCR, we're working with them closely to see what we can do to facilitate employment of Syrian refugees, in particular they're targeting, in Jordan. And it's a great model for others who have interest in Egypt or Tunisia or Morocco, for example, that want to come in, provide first loss capital alongside the IFC, but tying it to something they care about, right? It could be employing farmers. Again, most of our projects are in rural areas. Solar power projects typically are outside of the big cities. The Tunisian pension fund will also be investing with us on the condition that we invest 4 times what they invest in us in Tunisia. So that's another form of them trying to, let's say, multiply their impact. They're saying, okay, we're committing $10 million to your fund, but we want a commitment of 40 million to Tunisia, which is a core market for us, and we were happy to commit to that. So it's opened up a way for us to work that's a little bit different than what we were used to, using catalytic capital to help bring in other investors. And the other investors we brought in have been like the Spanish government. The Tunisians were happy about the IFC first loss tranche, and we have a large corporate that's coming in for over almost 40% of the fund, called Fortescue Capital. They're a large metals and energy company in Australia. They're known to be a big humanitarian and kind of zero emission target. Their founder, Andrew Forrest, the second wealthiest man in Australia, he has the Minderoo Foundation, which has donated over 30 million to Gaza through Anira. So a great group of people coming together to do something that, for the ones that need commercial return, it's there on the table. For the ones that want impact, they're also fulfilling their objectives.
Thanks, Anas. And I think, I think it's brilliant to see examples of even pension funds. I think this is something that we keep talking about, bringing the government or bringing the private sector, but even putting pension fund, and I feel this is where there has been a lot of opportunities in a country like Egypt to see how it has grown. We just make sure this is
Is MS Mida?
Oh, okay. It was breaking, I think. Is this? Yeah. Okay, good. So I'm going to move now to Dr. Ahmed. And talking about Egypt, it's one of the most active